go you.
No, I
Madam
didn't,
Chair?
I didn't put
The
it in.
floor is yours.
That's
All right, it is 4:30, so we'll call this meeting of Land Use and Planning Monday, December 8th, at 4:30 PM to order. To start off, can we please, review the meeting minutes of November 24th?
Yep, reviewed, I move to approve as written.
And I will second, very
Okay.
nice job on those, thank you very much, Patty.
You're welcome. It's not verbatim, but I try to find the balance.
Okay.
Mm.
Until we actually start record, well, I guess you do have them recorded, there's your
Yeah,
verbatim.
yeah, I'll bring my laptop next time, so I
So-
can just take them.
Okay, so then next up, I added this, planning for a community meeting for information of the Montana Community Tourism Grant. So, as we all know, that there's been a lot of public input on this
Mhm.
tourism grant, and that, I believe Dave is planning a community meeting to be able to spread more information, answer more questions, which I think is a fantastic idea. I just wanted for us, real quickly, to get together our ideas of what we would like to have included for that meeting, so we can provide that to Dave.
Fantastic, okay.
So yeah, my first thought is, I think it might be beneficial, and so you're here in the room, so I'll kind of just direct this to
Mhm.
you. I think it would be beneficial during this meeting, one, public notice is very important, as well as individual invites to adjacent property owners. I think that also, if this could be more of an FAQ forum as well, where people can pre-submit questions, and then have those directed to a panel of individuals. And I think having city staff, folks from the steering committee with RLACF, probably council as well, the mayor, and then, maybe our planners, that might be beneficial to have, and a member of planning board. Parks board, for sure, I think that would be beneficial. We don't want it to be too many people, but around 10, I think, is healthy, and,
panel, yeah, parts and. Yeah.
yeah,
Okay, thank you.
Roger, yeah.
I'm like,
So I think that would be helpful, and then having someone who can be a neutral, director of those questions. And so essentially having it to where you can have that panel, have an introduction that covers hopefully as many questions that might already be out there, and just a total process of the project. And then follow that up with an FAQ panel where people can pre-submit, so then the moderator, that's what I was looking for, the moderator could direct those questions out the gate, and then that will hopefully keep us from having too many repeat questions.
Like a forum, yeah, like
Yeah.
the LSWAT stuff.
Mhm. And then at the end, it can be more of an open FAQ. So I think that might be, if there's any questions that either come from the conversations, or if there's questions that weren't necessarily addressed at that time.
yeah, and it'll help eliminate any repeat questions and
Yeah.
things that have already been asked, so that way we can.
And have it in writing, the replies.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's gonna be really important, I think.
Yeah, so I think that will be helpful, and again, having that opportunity to submit ahead of time, I think is really beneficial as well, just because if anyone's like me, I like to have an opportunity to think that out, go back,
Mhm.
revisit, re-edit, so, those would be my big requests for that meeting when that happens.
Have you had thoughts about, given the time of year, what's an appropriate time to do that? I mean, my sense is there's enough misinformation and disinformation out there that sooner is probably better, but I also recognize that we have the holidays here.
Agreed.
But when I hear the comments that people are, that the stuff that frustrates me is that we have people openly attacking council members, saying, you guys have all had this conversation, you've made this decision, and the fact of the matter is, it still has not come to council.
Right.
And so I think it is advantageous get some of that information out. I will take an opportunity to do some of that tomorrow night
Yeah.
at city council meeting and kind of have some prepared comments for that I'll be happy to share.
Mhm.
But
And I think to that degree, just with the amount of people that would like to have involved with that panel discussion, in the time of year, I think a lot of the misinformation, again, that little presentation, whatever information can be brought ahead of time, fabulous, but also for more of the FAQ, I do think that might have to happen after the first of the
Yeah, I
year.
was thinking after the first of the year, because we're already,
Yeah.
looking at
We're
where,
halfway through December and, you know, we don't have another council meeting this month
no, until after the first.
until after the first. So I think that having an opportunity to, again, give the public a chance to ask those questions, an opportunity to coordinate and collect information that can be more readily available. And again, there's going to be, to a degree, like, people reaching out and asking questions directly, and that's fine. There's gonna be people wanting to voice their concerns now, and that's fine, like, it's just part of it.
and I will make myself available, anybody who wants to call, and I'll announce that tomorrow.
Okay,
That if anybody who wants to, and you're happy to share that with
Mhm.
constituents as they reach out.
okay.
Yep.
I am happy to sit down, and let folks know where we are from a city standpoint.
Okay.
So, but anyway,
When
yeah.
is our next, so our next official meeting,
Isn't until January.
January 13th?
That's right, I don't have a calendar yet, I'm gonna get a new book. January 13th, yeah, look at that, that's, a month away.
And so we were,
More than a month.
possibly talking about a special meeting, not for this at
It
all,
would
but
be
for
more of
something
a
else.
public
It would just be a
meeting, it
regular-
wouldn't be
or
necessarily a
different.
council
Okay.
meeting or
No.
something that follows
Okay.
those same parameters, it would be more for
It-
public information.
It'd be close to that, but it wouldn't be, because it's a meeting that's gonna get eaten up by that, so I try to have regular.
Anything
business.
else, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Rather than have, but the last meeting that we had was not a city meeting, and I think there was some misunderstanding and folks from that, and I don't think the way it got reported necessarily helped. But I think what we need to have is a meeting that's a city meeting, so that we can let people know what's still to come. This is still coming before land use and planning. This is still coming before Parks Board. This is still coming before planning. This is all of that before it ultimately makes its way to city council meeting. And so there's gonna be tons of opportunity for discussion and input. I mean, look at the last 2 years, there has not been anything that has not been vetted 14 ways from Sunday, inside out and backwards
Mhm.
publicly. And that part's a little bit frustrating, that people are coming in and basically attacking council with something that's not only baseless, but 180 degrees off of what you guys have all worked on very solidly for 2 years. And so, I guess, but I think it's just, we know it's time to start having that conversation. Let's start having that conversation and do it before things get
So,
So
any more
public
aggressive.
meeting Before the.
I'm looking sometime in this week, between the 5th.
Yeah, no, that makes sense to me,
Right.
sometime between the 5th and the 9th.
Right, school goes back, everyone's heading back to school by the.
People should be back in town around that time.
Mhm.
I mean, it's an exhausting time for folks to do it, but again, we do wanna hit it sooner than
I'd rather do
later.
it sooner than later.
Yep.
Go on.
So recommendations taken and heard?
taken in her. Thank you.
Fabulous. Next, I do want to open this up to the floor, and I will ask just for time, that I want to ask if anyone has any other suggestions that they'd like to have for that meeting, what they would like to hear beyond what they've heard now, anything along those lines. And again, like to keep it specific to this, but, Rod, and then yes.
I will watch on my.
And then, real quick, Rob. One second.
Hold tight.
I just have to say one more thing, because we're used to having you, but with everybody else in the room, if you would please say your name and address for Patty for the record, that'd be appreciated. Again, Rod's here for pretty much every meeting, so we know him real well, but, otherwise, yes, if you wouldn't mind, that way she can keep that in the minutes, that'd be great.
Okay, so Rod Bastian, I'll give you one of my 6 addresses, so 201 North Oaks.
Thank you.
Having been to most of the meetings, I
Mhm.
miss one every once in a while. I've said before, in the absence of information, people think the worst of the situation.
Mhm.
We went to the meeting and we didn't get information.
Yep.
So I think it needs, what you present to the people needs to be background on how the grant was processed, because the city wasn't involved in that at all.
No, and I did see some bad information that went out today that said the city approved that. There was another grant that the city did approve
Yep.
for the community foundation. This one has not come to
We
this,
haven't
had
done
not,
that.
has
Yep.
had zero city involvement up till now.
So I think there needs to be good factual information about
Mm-hmm.
how the grant was received and applied for, and what it's specifically for. Because there's a lot of,
Grant.
Yep.
why did this organization get left out? Can it be used for other things? What is it for? So we need some background on that. And then the information about how it moves forward, because
Yep.
the city hasn't had anything really to do with it
Mm-hmm.
on a official capacity, other than sitting in these meetings. You've been told many times, something big's coming your way, you need to be prepared. And
Yeah.
that's why you've been rewriting the procedures
Mhm.
on how to address a major.
Right.
Yep.
Okay, so background on the grant and the process to get the grant, information on how to proceed and moving forward from there.
Yep.
And the process came about from other things.
Yeah, so
From when I
between
started.
this and, again, workforce housing opportunities, tennis courts, you name it, there's a bunch of things that this process
Yeah,
for
not
procedures will be
just
used for.
Yeah.
And then,
I think I'm a little person, as I have found out.
name?
Hi, my
Sorry.
name is Kim Speed Hayes.
Thank you.
I rent here in the city, and I'm a homeowner in Carbon County. I just ask that when you do have this presentation, that people that are for it may not be totally connected to Red Lodge Ice or whatever, that we are seen as community members.
Okay.
And that, everything that is presented is factual and taken from documents that are posted from the city,
Yep.
through the recreation board, through the years.
Mhm.
And when things are based,
Mhm.
when they say things are historical, that they have truly documents that prove that it's historical.
I like that there's a presentation of historic.
Documents. Okay. Got it.
Okay, thank you very much. Anyone else specific to Becky?
I think, Becky Van Horn, Carbon County Preservation Officer. I think, and this has been my opinion from the beginning, is that the people that need to be involved with this as well would be the people that are going to be affected the most, such as the wildlife sanctuary
Mm-hmm.
and the residents. Has that been suggested that those?
Yeah, no, it would
I
be
don't know if I heard wildlife sanctuary specifically.
directly the neighbors adjacent.
Yes.
So, and that
Adjacent.
includes
Yes.
there as well. So,
Okay.
yep, no, including
Yep, that
them, again, pretty much anyone that would have it as a part of their day-to-day. I think that they should have a personal invitation. They might not necessarily have a seat at the panel, but they'll have at least the opportunity to come and hear those facts and
Mhm.
provide the information ahead of time. And again, I think in terms of just this is just an information sharing meeting. We don't get to select who is on that steering committee, and who's informed and who's brought into those conversations. That's not our position, but what we can do is at least provide opportunity for information and having those folks involved. And then as well as when we are making decisions within our scope, making sure that those folks are the folks that we're reaching out to.
So the wildlife sanctuary won't have a seat at the panel?
Not for the information meeting,
Not for the
no.
informational meeting.
Unless, honestly, I don't necessarily mind having them give a presentation of their concerns.
I think that would be beneficial,
Okay, and then,
for both projects.
yep, agreed. So, no, maybe that would be helpful. And that might be, honestly, something that we could include, in the panel of conversation, is having folks that, it doesn't necessarily have to be people running it, but also the people that are impacted. I like this idea. Again, it could be broad. It could be businesses that would benefit from this. It could be businesses that are gonna see a detriment from this. So again, specifically, maybe the high school could have a representative,
Wildlife,
the wildlife sanctuary having a representative. And again, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's gonna be, everyone gets to have a say at, like, for each individual question. But like, then you actually do have the opportunity to ask specifically for, and it could be a two-part meeting for this reason.
This is not gonna be one meeting, this is gonna be multiple meetings, and this first meeting I see is more of the city,
information.
is the informational setting the expectations of what's next,
Mhm.
and making sure that information is being presented, and that what's next is not, and this is the end of it.
Right.
And so, yeah, I don't know that I see that, I don't know that I see a place for them. I certainly see a place for making sure they have representations and reach out, as was mentioned, and have their specific questions coming into it.
Okay.
And I know firsthand that I have had many and frequent meetings and tried to keep BR
Oh, yeah.
aware of this
Right.
as developments from since the first breath of it, so.
So I guess my question would be, do you think that there would be questions from the public for the school, for, BR, for the neighbors, where they want to have that clarification? Like, would I have questions for Rod that would need to be answered at this panel to create more information? Because again, instead of necessarily planning and development at this point, it's more so just informational. So, I mean, I could see the benefit of asking BR, like, what would be the negative impacts of lights being on at
Yeah.
10 o'clock at night? What if we were to shut them down at 9? But that's also, again, more of a planning process versus an information process. Does that make sense?
I think there's a way to incorporate that without necessarily including them on the panel,
And
which I envision as the city getting some information out there and setting, and, because to Rod's point, in order to meet expectations, the first thing you have to do is set expectations,
Mhm.
and then manage to that.
Yep. So maybe we do, and I think having a follow-up meeting, or kind of like how we did with, was it the Urban Renewal District or the Main Street? I think it was Main Street program, when we had like 3 meetings in a day.
Yeah, that was multiple meetings there.
Yeah. Maybe we do something like that, where we have a planning meeting and then an information meeting, starting with information.
Well, that was the different stakeholders or different impacted parties.
Yeah,
That could be
that could be
like a
helpful.
follow-up meeting.
Because I think those Main Street meetings were very, and I know a lot of the folks in this room were there. I think those were really useful, and I think those were well-ran, and, I'd like to see more, again, input as much as possible. But, as more than anything, obviously, we need to get an information meeting out there so people understand the city's position as well as the actual project in play. So, but, and then we can always move forward with the project.
Can I just make one suggestion, and this is from someone that used to be on a park board up in Whitefish. We ran into a lot of this,
Mhm.
and what we found when you were talking about having several meetings, because it does get contentious.
Mhm.
And I find myself, wow, I got sucked into it here too. Things that I have never done before. We had separate meetings where you let the people that were impacted, let them have their own private time. Let the people that are for it have their private time. So everybody can get their ideas out, so it's not like
Back and
hugging
forth.
back and forth.
Right.
Everybody gets their say. Business people get their say. People, if they do not feel targeted or threatened, they tend to hear things better.
Yeah.
So you might think about, when you're having information
Mhm.
given, you might have it for different.
I like that.
The limitation with that is because if they're giving that presentation to either council or parks board or planning board, all of those are gonna be public meetings. So the reality is, anybody and everybody can come to those, but there can be here's what we'd like to hear from now.
Yes, that's what I.
And here's what we like, and some of that's gonna be in, and I'm, like I said, I will tell you from a council standpoint, I don't have a particularly lot of angst about the meeting tomorrow or the meeting, you know, upcoming meetings when we actually have this on the agenda, because this isn't on the agenda. But part of that is because I know how to manage a meeting so that that doesn't happen, where it's not back and forth discussions and stuff, so. But I do want to make sure everybody gets heard and has
I'm
their
sorry,
chance.
Dave, I just watched that park board meeting from last week or whatever.
Mhm.
And I
And
haven't
was
seen that
shocked.
Yeah.
I was shocked.
So, wait, what?
Sorry, I'm trying to pull up the other thing, sorry, moving on.
Got it.
Chuck,
Yes, ma'am.
about the fax panel and, the committee members of the different groups, if we could all, like, communicate, because I think some are interpreted, differently, even
Mhm.
amongst these different groups.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that before it's published and written out, I think we should all have a
Yeah.
chance to review it,
Agreed.
whoever's involved, and agree on the statement that's coming out, because
Yep.
even, you know. Okay, that's.
Yeah, no, I've definitely seen, again, and I'm guilty of this, to where we get siloed when we're working on a project and then not realizing that people are misunderstanding what we're saying
Yeah, the
entirely.
interpretation,
So,
yeah, it's very different. So I'm like, sure, before it's printed and published, that everybody agrees and
yeah,
who's involved there.
agreed, yes. So,
Hope Smith, 517 North Hauser. I appreciate the fact that you're doing this now. Hindsight's 2020. It would have been great if you had done it back when, as Dave mentioned from the first breath of it, he was staying in touch with BR. And that may have been, but it wasn't staying in touch with the rest of the community. So I'm glad you're going to go ahead and do that now. I'm glad that the steering committee is going to actually put up a website with their minutes and what they've done, blank, since the beginning of the grant. It would have helped people in the community, you know, to have had that from the beginning. It's concerning because you're feeling as if you're being attacked, but when a citizen looks at the budget and sees, oh my gosh, there's $400,000 set aside from the resort tax to pay for the ice skating rink improvements. And that makes it seem as if it's a done deal. And yes, it's been explained to me that it's a placeholder, so forth and so on. But anybody just looking at that's going to think, wait a minute, they've already. So that's why I think people are feeling a little defensive, a little fearful, because it does seem as if it's a done deal.
sorry, I'm not trying to cut you off, and I totally hear you on that. One thing I just wanted to want to be really concise about, just keeping it to recommendations for that meeting. So do you have any recommendations for the meeting in terms of how we can present that specifically, or?
But, I mean,
Is
you
there-
can explain why it shows in the budget that you're going to spend that much money.
Yep,
So, an
explaining
explanation of the budget.
Okay. Perfect, thank you.
Yeah.
Yes,
Steve Smith, 517 North Hauser. I agree, I think it's great that you're gonna do this, and it would probably be better to do it sooner than later, but it's being done. As suggestions for some things that might be discussed or brought out at the meeting would be, the individual projects that were chosen to be
yeah,
covered by the grant,
Okay,
choices.
you know, that process.
all the different.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that'd be
Also-
helpful.
And I,
Yeah.
Okay.
Also, how the steering committee was formed
Mhm.
and why the members of the committee were chosen.
Mhm. Okay.
What the criteria was
Selection.
for inclusion into the steering committee.
Okay.
And one more would be, this is specific to the ice rink. How much consideration was given to alternate sites from
Yeah, okay.
Mhm. Got it.
Lions Club, Lions Park?
Excellent. Okay, anyone else in the
Thank you.
room recommendations specific for that meeting? Okay, online, and I don't have,
I sent a message, I'm looking for online. If you're online and would like to, and you have some suggestions specific to the chair's question, I'm looking for raised hands. I see no raised hands and nothing in the chat window, Madam Chair.
okay. I will move forward then. So next up,
Sorry.
yeah.
One more, Deborah Schaffner, Red Lodge. One more thing that I think is important is that, you know, people are like, this is for tourism, right, winter tourism.
Mhm.
Was there actually any data that was mined to say, oh, yes, do that, what research was done to say, oh, you know what? It's not just a bunch of folks sitting around saying, let's do this? Like, how was that?
So research supporting the benefits for tourism.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, excellent. Oh, Marvin? Sorry, my eyes are getting
I
bad.
can't see it either.
Yep,
Oh, I see a raised hand. It is Marvin Keller.
okay.
Yeah,
Go
yeah,
ahead,
can you hear?
Marvin.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I appreciate what the council is going through and your program is going through. Part of the confusion and maybe a clarification needs to be where the grant process sits, because I listened to Tom Coop's presentation and I really liked it. I mean, he presented a lot of useful information, and there seemed to be more flexibility in there than was we assumed. And I guess my concern is I don't want to see the city lose grant funds if there's flexibility on how the initial funds are given. I guess I'd like to see that explanation better. I mean, that was my concern that, oh my God,
Okay.
we don't want to contact the state. We don't want to lose funds, but is there flexibility in this thing? And I wasn't.
Gotcha. Grant flexibility. Yep.
But it's not the city losing the grant funds, right?
Yeah, it's not the city losing the grant funds. I mean, city outside.
Yeah.
City as
Yeah.
in the humans living within it, yes. City as in the administrative body that is us, no.
The city has
That's
no
the hardest
role
part when you work in the
other
city.
than if there are projects that they have that specifically use city-owned land, they require city approval before they are allowed to proceed with those.
Oh,
Yeah, I just
oh,
wanna.
oh yeah, I fully understand that. It was just that
Oh,
I don't know how if the grants are issued and then the city has to give final approval. Are we putting
Yep.
the kibosh on something that everyone assumed was a go project?
Thank you.
Perfect, thank you.
Double check.
Okay, anybody else online?
I see no further hands online. And I
Oh,
see no
I heard
questions.
a mumble.
I don't, there's a half a dozen live mics, but I don't see anything coming
Okay.
in from them, so.
Excellent.
I don't know how to raise my hand.
Oh, okay.
Oh, there we go.
Hi, BR.
Hello.
Say something.
I'd like to make a point. I'm B.R. Walker with Yellowstone Wildlife Sanctuary. Hearing that something is developing isn't a lot different from agreeing that it should happen or approving of how it will happen. I think our biggest concern was getting to a meeting where we saw drawings and heard stuff that was going to really impact our animals, and we had not had that much information on what was being discussed or planned. Even though I was aware of, I went to the Red Lodge Area Community Foundation annual meeting, and at that point they announced the grant. So it's not like it's been a secret, but the details and how it impacts things has been kind of cloak and dagger and not out in the open. And I don't know that there's any malicious intent with that, any plan to be surprising people and getting it done without going through an acceptance process. I just think that it exploded when people heard more details than they knew were pending.
Yes. Thank you very much for that clarification, BR. And then just as a stakeholder involved and a neighbor, is there any recommendations that you have for that public meeting for more information? Or do you think that we've covered enough at this point?
I think what I would like to see is and this is particularly related to Coal Miners Park. It's very heavily used. I question how much displacement of residential use and of people coming in to be with teams and different things like that. That's not even related to the sanctuary. It's related to Coal Miners Park. And I see issues overall, not just with the sanctuary. I think accommodations will be made for our animals, but it hurts me to think that our residential children and students would be impacted in a way that might take away from what they already have. So that's kind of a heart plea.
Okay, thank you, BR. I think, honestly, just making sure when we're talking about the neighbors and the adjacent users, making sure we're including all the Coal Miners Park user groups in that invite. And I think when we write that invite, just making sure that we make it really clear what our request is from them. So not just inviting them to come to the event for more information, but asking them some specific questions of how this might impact their user group, their organization, their home, their backyard, et cetera. So that way we kind of have that list of concerns already drafted out that can be addressed. Okay. Anybody else? I'm just going to look on this list. I see a few more folks that are unmuted. I'm just going to roll down. Barry, did you have anything that you would like to say?
Can you hear me?
I can, yes. Thank you.
Oh, no, I'm just watching the meeting. I think I already submitted my letter.
Okay, perfect. I just see some folks that are unmuted, so I just want to make sure.
They've been unmuted from the get-go, so.
Okay, just want to be sure.
Okay.
That's all, because I know it's sometimes hard to know when to chime in. So, one more chance to chime in, I guess. That's how we'll do it. Oh, here we go. We have one indoors.
Bob Larson, 415 North Alzer.
Yep.
I live right across the street from the park, so I have a big stake in this whole ordeal. But I just, my recommendation, though, is, has there been a lot of, or any impact studies on only the residents, traffic flow, and things like that? And I know it's still preliminary. I get that. And not to make this sound like it's an attack, it's not.
No.
Just good conversation, but, and the other part I'm really concerned about is future maintenance.
Yeah.
That's gonna be a biggie, I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah, no,
And it's gonna affect the taxpayers, not just in our residence,
everywhere. Yep.
but it's everywhere.
Yep. No,
And then I guess one thing I'm considering is I've heard a lot of other talk about potential other sites for a ice skating rink, AKA, a rec center. And I think that sounds great. Don't get me wrong, I've always enjoyed the rink across the street, but a rec center has a lot more possibilities for our entire community.
oh, for sure. So, real quickly.
But just let me say, what I worry about the future plans, potentially a rec center. If and when that happens, and I think it's a win, what's gonna happen to the area across the street? The concrete slab.
Yep. Okay.
I'm just saying.
No, that's fine. Again, I'm just want to keep it really specific to that upcoming information meeting. But, and I will, and just, I should put this out there too, we will have time for public comment as well. So, but yes, no, that is good. I think what we'll include in that is any sort of long-term plans that they may have already started to develop, that we haven't heard any of these yet at this point, obviously. But then also including, any impact studies, really just presenting any of the information that has already been gathered supporting the project, or not supporting the project, but really any studies that they have been put into it. So whether that's tourism related, or whether that's traffic related, or even just soil related, who knows? So I think that would be beneficial for them to just give us everything they got. So that way everyone can really know what's going on. I would rather have too much information in this situation than not enough. So, okay. Last call for the 5th time. Like when I was bartending, but no.
Yeah, last call for the 5th time. It sounds different.
Yeah. on that note, so what I am gonna spend about 10 minutes on right now before we move to public comment, is the process for designating / changing use of city-owned land. This is something that we've been working on for a while, and I know that I've made mention of this to multiple folks throughout the community. And again, essentially, when we were hearing about the upcoming ice skating rink, some potential opportunities for workforce housing, tennis courts potentially going in near coal miners, a bunch of different projects are coming down the pipe, and we just want to make sure that there is actually a process for deciding whether or not to move forward with the project. So, because it's not something that has been put into place up until now. I mean, not now, actually, it's going to be a couple months from now, realistically, just with how we have been rolling on this. So we've been really, and I just want to, I'm actually going to start with this. It's kind of the mission statement of this project as well as this process. When considering the permanent change of city-owned land, the city will determine the best and highest use by consistently evaluating each proposal to ensure that it meets current community needs, increases the quality of life for our residents, and has a sustainable long-term plan to benefit the city and community. So that is the real purpose of this process. We've been working on this since March. We really roughly started in March, but really started to dive into that this summer. So, and it's been a slow process because we don't want to miss steps. And we also want to make sure that people are heard. So honestly, as much as I know a lot of people are frustrated with what's going on, it's been really beneficial for us for the fact that we've had a lot of input now for things that need to be included in this. Mm-hmm. Some of it's already stuff that we've considered, some of it's new. Like again, the last meeting, someone locked out.
Is that the mayor?
Possibly.
It might be.
Oh, is that you? Oh.
Oh. Hold tight. So again, it's been really useful having something come up to where it's now this process is showing the worth. And again, we're not even close to being done, but that being said, it's really nice getting a lot of input right now to ensure that when it is done, it's done correctly. And obviously, this is something that can be adapted over time, but we really want to make sure that it's thorough, mostly to avoid projects happening that don't necessarily benefit everybody, and especially when you're talking about permanence. So again, something that's not easily reversible is not something we want to be dealing with. So I think of the small example of there's a concrete chair or bench up at the dog park. And it's, you know, a sweet gesture. It was a gift to the city and put into place, but there wasn't really a process because now there's a concrete bench in the dog park that's really heavy and hard to move. And do we want to mow around it? Who's going to maintain it over time? Was it actually dedicated for somebody that we don't even know or was actually like really contentious with their neighbor? I don't know. So again, it's really trying to think through all of those different processes. So kind of wrapping around, the reason I wanted to state that is I want to make sure that people know that this is not just intended for the grant and the tourism grant. This is intended for literally any use of city-owned land. This will be MOUs moving forward. This will be any sort of construction. This will be changing of land use. So if you're thinking that, like, I say that to where, okay, someone wants to change a park into a commercial space, or they want to change a commercial space into a park. What process does that look like too? What evaluation needs to happen? And then also, who is impacted and what kind of community input and how do we have that process? That's all a part of this. So I'm going to share my screen now so you guys can kind of follow along. I'm going to really quickly, or I'll try to go quickly. I apologize. I've been a little long-winded. No.
The flow chart is available on city website?
I don't know if it's included in 2 weeks ago's packet.
Meeting packet, okay, so.
And I've not quite sure how to make this public because it is such a working document.
Okay.
It's living and breathing and tripping and falling, and it's like a little toddler baby at this
Literally just
point.
did an edit to it as she was reading it.
Yeah, so,
But it is with the council.
I mean, I'm more than
Packet.
fine to making it available, like having an available link to that Google Drive document.
No, but if you want to print it to a PDF, what we'll do is we'll post the PDFs out.
Well, even as a viewer to where people can see it as it changes.
We'll do it in PDF. They're so, the Google Docs has so many backside things.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can go in there and
to use it.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, just so the public can see what.
Yep.
Where-
So maybe
where we are.
weekly we'll,
Yeah.
we'll update it. Does that,
After each of your meetings,
yeah,
that's
each
fine.
land use and planning meeting,
Yeah,
so.
yeah.
Okay, yeah, again, it's very slow rolling, so there'll be weeks that it doesn't see any changes, but at least then people have the opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm going to pull this up, sharing.
And it looks like that is that on for discussion tomorrow night?
Sure.
It looks, okay.
Yeah, I'm pretty much just, it's always on discussion because we're always discussing it.
It's, yeah, there's no action.
Yeah.
We'll keep you posted on as we move along. So what we most recently had done is this flow chart, and I'll zoom in for the folks here in the room because your eyes are probably a lot like mine. So this is our current process that and again, this is something that we are still actively working on. Essentially, this is what we expect the process to look like. Because a letter of intent that will be brought to the city so that we can first use to kind of vet out the project and figure out its degree and severity and provide some direction to the applicant. So that LOI will go to the council for review. And then from that point, the folks that want to use that city land or change it, apply for the grant, what have you, there'll be an application process that they will then have to go through. And this will include every little detail. What kind of studies have been done? What kind of studies do we require? Where does our growth policy support this? Where does our master plan, like any of the city master plans support this? All of those pieces should be included in that application. Then there will be advisory reviews, and that will be all of the different advisory committees or stakeholders that need to also review this for their either letter of support or for their recommendations or their straight up, we don't support this project, whichever that might look like. Then it will go to the council for review, and public hearings will be held at that point. Then there will be approval and completion. So once it's approved by city council, then the actual project will start taking fruition and building and developing, et cetera. And then also a part of this, and this is really important to me just for the fact that we haven't really had this much anymore, is an MOU review and renewal. So once this project has been in place, and again, we don't have a timeline at this point, but is it every year we come back and review it with that person? Like, how's everything going? Is it costing the city more money than we thought? Is it costing you guys more money than you thought? Are you not getting the volunteers that you needed? Or is everything going swimmingly and we want to expand, like whatever that might be? There will be those review processes in place, and then also, ultimately, if needed, the removal of an MOU or, again, the reallocation of it, whatever that looks like. So really trying to think this not just out for right now and getting it moving and getting it in the dirt, but also the long-term project on a whole and how this is going to affect our community, not just a year from now, not just 5 years from now, but 50 years from now, 100 years from now. So we really do want folks to understand that we are trying to be very thorough. So currently, our lovely Patty has put together a sample letter of intent. And again, this is very rough.
It's just bullet points. Yeah.
Yep, just bullet points at this point.
Something generic.
So.
Kind of get to the point.
Yep.
Get the information across, the baseline.
So Patty, would you like to present this real quick and then we'll move to
We'll move on.
public comment or?
Just go through it.
Yeah, we'll
you
just go
can-
through it.
Yep, just
Okay.
the highlighted pieces
I mean,
of
it
the
does, it
letter.
looks pretty straightforward.
Yep.
Just straight up names, who's requesting it, addresses to whom are involved.
So if it's a parks project, so essentially who will need to
Personal.
be included in that, date of the letter, State the use of the city-owned land in which it's seeking, so again, basically that mission statement. How it's aligned with the master plan and guiding documents for the city, how it's aligned with other similar, ooh, I like that, how it's,
Similar community projects.
yep, that totally,
Yeah.
that's a good addition, I like that a
We
lot.
don't wanna do the same thing in two different places.
Yep. Or more so, like, hey, this complements this really well, or this is a similar project that was done and was successful. So a good example recently with coal miners and Sally Field. No, not Sally Field, now I'm thinking of cookies.
I was like.
But Field, the soccer field,
Field school?
Field school?
not field
No,
school, soccer field.
Shelley.
Shelley.
Oh,
Shelley,
Shelley's
thank you. Yep, Shelley's Field, not Shelley's Field. Anyway.
Sally Field.
Yep,
Got you.
Shelley's Field, and how they use that same MOU essentially for development for the tennis court. So that's actually a really good example. Again, don't recreate the wheel if you don't have to, but also this has worked and has proven to work in the past, so we would like to do something similar, but obviously helping a different sector. Information about the organization, who's involved, date of inception, who does the organization project serve, including mission statement if applicable. Includes specifics of the plan and how it will make a difference and in whose lives, projected amount of time and funding required. We like that too. That's smart.
Well, try to project it.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, as
Well,
much
to
as
get
you
going.
can, you know,
Yeah.
but that's what this is for, is like thinking it through, not just like, I want to do this, and then
Yeah.
not thinking like, oh, it's gonna cost money,
Oh,
shoot.
we're not gonna be able to do this 6 months out of the year. We
Yeah.
have to do it, yeah.
List other sources of support, funding, investments of interested parties, volunteers, maintenance, sources of revenue, projected sustainability for funding and resources, maintenance, et cetera. So I think that's really helpful as well, because it's one of the first things we always ask at a city level is how much is this gonna cost us and for how long? And how long are we gonna have to maintain this? How long are you gonna maintain it? Yep.
How many is this gonna cost?
How much?
Till they're
Well,
40
How about
or
a
less.
From a city perspective, I will just throw out there that everything that comes up, whether it's moose trails or an observatory or a pool, the working assumption is that
Mhm.
someday this is gonna be taxpayer expense
Yep.
to maintain it.
Exactly.
Even moose trails, and was put in, oh, no, we'll take care of it, all of the, you know, the folks who had kids at that point, and guess what, 4 years later, all those kids were gone.
Yep.
And so it becomes a city expense to do that, so that is part of the conversation that.
It's literally not a matter of when, it's, or not a matter of if, it's when. We literally have built that into, and that's part of our process is considering, okay, how long are you committing to maintaining this for? What kind of, and honestly, one thing we should include is, in the review process, is actual budget, requirements. Like, for how they can, I want to see what their budget was for the last year. So then that way the city can actually plan and anticipate for that moving forward when we're doing our own budgets, to where it's like, hey, you know, and then I'm just gonna throw an example out there, the baseball fields cost $30,000 to mow, and I know it's silly, but they cost $30,000 to mow for this organization when they were paying for it. That's something that we should start to build into a budget moving forward. I like that, okay. Let's see. Notes that the full proposal will follow, yeah, and that's one thing too, is having that cover letter. Note that the full proposal will follow for further review.
Letter of intent.
Yeah, and also a letter from us, basically saying like, here's your steps, here's what you can expect, and here's the timeline you can expect, because that's the other piece too, is, again, we work at the speed of government, and that's not fast. So if someone's expecting to have a project done in 2 months, it's not feasible. It's not realistic for what we expect, and more so, like, we'll have to go to each of our departments and our different boards and figure out what we can expect from them for timeline. Like, what do they feel is reasonable for them to actually get that on the agenda and review it, or for it to actually go through our planners' desks for it to go past the city attorney, all of those pieces, like how long will it take them to do each part of those processes so we can build that into the timeline?
I really like that. It just keeps consistency and it's fair
Yep.
to them too.
And again, it
That's
keeps
really
expectations on both sides.
important. Yeah.
To where it's like, okay, well, we were supposed to have an answer for them within 3 weeks and we didn't, that's due on us
Yeah.
against city ordinance at that point. Like, we wanna make sure that we all are following the same consistent criteria. Contact information for the lead project liaison. One thing that we might want to include, just given current situations, if there's additional resources for the public that we can share, or points of contact for the public as well.
Great, okay.
So we're not sending out information that doesn't get responded to.
Mhm. Okay, good.
What contact do they get the correct?
But yeah, I think that's a really strong start. Thank you. So again, for everybody listening, there's still a lot of work to do, and obviously when we only get to spend about 5 minutes at a time on it, it makes it really hard, so. But, little baby steps. So on that note, I am gonna open it up for public comment. One request I do have, if you have questions directly, we'd be happy to try and answer those to the best of our abilities. We're gonna try to avoid too much back and forth because this is a fairly short meeting. Be happy to schedule time with folks as well if there's additional questions. And if there are any repeats in terms of questions, comments, concerns, you're welcome to voice those, but just as a respect for those in the room as well as the folks at home, try not to duplicate too much. If there's something that you agree with, a big clap at the end or a I agree is really all that's necessary, so.
Sure.
Yes, sir.
Just in the interest of time, on the podium there, I put, a set of my cards, so if anybody, like I said, would wanna take that, has a cell phone number, text out if you would like, and a proposed time. Probably gonna be after Thursday at this juncture. I'm just back into the country and working through a lot of big backlog, but, and while this meeting will close at 5:30, if anybody has a desire to sit around, there's lots of questions and stuff today. It's kind of like, oh, I can answer that, oh, I can answer that, but out of respect for the meeting and the timeline, I didn't do that, but like I said, I'm happy to have those one-on-one meetings. If there's people who want to stick around after the meeting, you're welcome to do so, and as long as my stomach will allow it to happen, I'm happy to do that.
I will open up the floor.
Our comments on this, correct?
Yep.
Okay, so, going along with that, when you're talking about costs, the organizations that are asking for these things, if they have a pretty good track record going how far back, like say for instance, Red Lodge Ice, they have a pretty good track record. I am not involved with Red Lodge Ice, again, just researching from previous park board notes, as far back as I went as 2013, and then I ran out of gas. But they have been faithful about keeping up, and even when they've added things, putting in volunteer hours and donations and such. A good example is the lights, and then when there were problems with the lights, things like that. Another thing, when you consider all of the...
Sorry, I dropped the screen just because I want to make sure that anyone who wants to be seen can be seen.
Yes, and then the other thing is that, like say for instance, how the park has been designated. So in 2015, they did a big study of the parks, and Lions Park was considered under the NRPA, which is the National Recreation and Parks Association, which is what I'm familiar with. My degree is in recreation management.
That's awesome.
Okay, so, and Lions Park is considered a community park, okay? Which means a community park is larger than a neighborhood park and is intended for the use by the entire community. And because of that, you need to consider the entire community, how it is affected. My thing is that it's not been just with parks, but with services, whether it be city or county. I did spend most of my youth here. And because of my career, I have spent most of my time in different resort towns. And what happens when you start moving activities and parks out of the city, oh, let's just move it a little bit further out. Let's just move it a little bit further out. We lose community within the city. So it's something I would also like you to consider is how does it affect the entire community? I grew up across the street from a park before we moved here. It was Pioneer Park. I do know how bad traffic can be. I do know how my parents fought it. We fought and we fought. We did find that if we worked with solutions together, as far as especially for parking and things like that, we came up with solutions together, and I think they need to be considered in that.
Cool, yeah.
Okay? I also have lived next to a creek. You know what's happened there,
Yep,
okay? I live now next to a creek and a fire zone. There is inherent risk wherever you live. Unfortunately, that all has to be taken into,
yep.
okay?
So one thing I did just add from that, and thank you, I just put in, because we already have if it aligns with our master plan, but I didn't have, like, those types of designations. It's something that I was completely unaware of. So that's,
Designation of areas.
And
Yep.
if you do go back to that plan, for each of your parks, it designates what type of park they are. Are
Yep.
they a natural park? That is before coal miners was accepted as a park, but it will still tell you what type of park it falls under.
love that. Thank you.
Okay, so, and that kind of helps you
Yeah,
figure out what should be done. Should it be, you know, an open space park? Should it be considered a neighborhood park?
Yep.
Things like that.
perfect. Thank you very much. All right, any other, public comment? And again, this can be for anything too. So if you want to say anything else, just big scale, we can. But, anything that might pertain to land use and planning specifically. Becky?
I've read this letter to you guys a couple times already, so I'm sure you already know what I'm going to say. Hi, I'm Becky Van Horn, the Carbon County Historical Preservation Officer. The Carbon County Historic Preservation Commission members have discussed the proposed project for the Red Lodge Ice Ring located at Lions Park. This historic public park is adjacent to the High Bug Historic District and the Red Lodge Commercial Historic District. Aside from my letter, I would like to say that this town has made a commitment over the years to preserving its history. And I didn't do that, somebody else did. Kate Hampton, Deputy State Historic Preservation Officer and Community Preservation Coordinator of the Montana Historical Society, confirmed the park is eligible for listing on the National Register of Historic Places. The Carbon County Historic Preservation Officer and the Historic Preservation Commission would like additional information in order to ascertain the impact of the project may have on the integrity of the historic resource. It is the position of the Carbon County Historic Preservation Commission that the historical integrity of Lions Park may be diminished by the introduction of any large permanent structures. And attached to this letter is a copy of the 1901 Sanborn Plat Map showing that this area has been a public park since the early 1900s and therefore is a historic green space. And then additional to this is the letter from Kate Hampton. Dear Becky, thank you for your inquiry regarding Lions Park and Red Lodge. The property has historic associations with the city's residential, recreational, and civic development and retains sufficient integrity to convey its significance, so it could still be on the National Historic Register at this point of time. The park is eligible for listing on the National Register of Historic Places. When considering a property's National Register eligibility, the evaluation includes not only significance, but also whether the place retains sufficient integrity to convey that significance. So in other words, if we continue to develop certain parks, they will lose their integrity as historical sites. Under the National Register guidelines, there are 7 aspects of this integrity: location, setting, design, materials and workmanship, feeling, and association.
For a landscape property like a park, integrity of design, setting, feeling, and association are particularly important. Several non-historic structures appear in the historic park. The introduction of additional structures has the potential to diminish the park's ability to convey its historic associations and could render it ineligible for listing. So once you go one way, you can't go back the other. As you know, National Register property owners manage their property as they see fit. Under federal law, the listing of a property in the National Register places no restriction on what a non-federal owner may do with their property up to and including destruction, unless the property is involved in a project that receives federal assistance, usually funding or licensing/permitting. At the state and federal levels, listing and eligibility do not impact an owner's right to use, alter, or demolish their properties. The State Historic Preservation Office has no jurisdiction to influence local decision-making processes. Thank you, and please let me know if you would like additional information about the National Register evaluation. Sincerely, Kate Hampton, Deputy Historic Preservation Officer.
I do have a question on that.
Yeah.
Is there like a list, because again, it has the evaluation
Yeah.
process.
Mhm.
Is there a list of that? Like, that's something that we can review?
Absolutely.
Cool.
Yeah, we,
I have it also here too.
Oh, awesome.
For the Hybrook District.
Oh, okay.
They applied for it, and, what was designated as part of the Hybrook and what wasn't.
Okay, that's super helpful too. So, yeah, I think just more so having like, what criteria, again, kind of going back to our
Mhm.
process and what we're looking at doing is what criteria is required for it to be eligible, and what would make it no longer eligible, those two items.
yes.
So then that way, when we're going through, and not just for this, but for any upcoming projects, where it's like, okay, this is something that we need to take into consideration.
Yes, yeah, and in the past, I have been contacted regarding certain projects. One of them including the large townhome development at the south end of town by the Circle 17. It was my suggestion that a barrier would be put up between that construction and the historic property next door. And that recommendation has not been followed, and I have contacted Dave a couple of times regarding the matter.
Okay.
So when we're making suggestions, we would like to be included in the process. That's because we have a responsibility to do that. Carbon County and, as a county is designated as a COG and does have a Carbon County Preservation Officer. That's my job.
Mhm.
But we also have made a commitment historically in this town to make sure that we're preserving our resources, our historic resources.
Okay.
And that's for a reason,
Yeah.
because that's what brings people here.
Okay.
Tourism, you flatten the town, it's going to be an interesting place. Anyway, so documents provided here to back up my claims. 1901 Sanborn map.
Yep.
I don't know if you've seen this.
Yep.
Okay. So public park right here.
Mhm.
This shows the depot, and this shows a public park existing before any of these other businesses here as well. So that's really great to look at.
Perfect.
And it's fun to see which houses are still there. So
Right.
that's one for you. And then this, I can send you a better one, but this is a, news article from the Carbon County News in 1927 that talks about, OHP Shelley resigning because he's going to Congress to petition for the road. And in this same article during the meeting, Mayor Cohn stated that he had made arrangements to purchase the land situated across the tracks from the Northern Pacific Depot owned by the Rocky Fork Town Site and Electric Company. So in that very same article, which is fascinating to me, it does show, that's the full page. Cool. This is from HiBug, HiBug considered a top area, I believe it's from the Carbon County News. I'm sorry, it's so hard to read, but you
Yes.
can find this on
I'm
the
looking
li-
at the headlines, it's very entertaining.
I know,
Read it all.
come by and look at the newspapers anytime, but this is also available on the Library of Congress, okay? HiBug considered top area. This is an article, from, the HiBug district being included in This Old House publication's 51 Best Old House Neighborhoods.
Yes. And so you have sent us all of this?
Yes, I'm
So-
making sure that it gets to everybody twice.
Okay. So just in the interest of time, I'm not trying to cut you off, but I want to make sure everyone can
So
see.
those are the documents.
Cool.
Those are what you guys are interested in presenting at the meeting, and I'll be more than happy to get them to you in a better.
Fair enough. Yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, so, Mrs. from
This is
the,
great.
I wanna read the other articles though now.
I know, right?
Yeah,
I found one in the wall in my house, and it said, like, someone got broken into and their pearls got taken. It was delightful.
I found one in a house, and my cousin Fraser gave it to us. It was my grandpa when he ran for Senate, or not for Senate, when he ran for sheriff in the 40s.
How cool is that? That's amazing. And I do appreciate all the work that you guys do.
Again,
I
we wanna
think
make
it's
it,
We wanna make
we
sure
wanna make it
everything.
thorough.
Yeah, here, pass my paper clip.
Thank you. Okay,
soil, it is not.
so Patty, you got that?
Got it.
Yeah, the back is not, that's not important, okay, it's not for us.
Thank you. As soon as Mayor comes back, he'll make.
I don't think we have one after us, otherwise I think they'd be here already,
Okay, that's
so.
what I was like,
Okay, yeah, we're not ending it, so next, just, is,
For your process,
Mhm.
did I hear you just say that you might consider putting on how it conforms to the, master plan?
yeah, no, that's already
Well,
included,
that was
yep.
included. And what about the energy and conservation?
Yep,
plan?
and all of our master
Any
plans.
master plans that we have.
Yep, yep, so, 'cause there's about
There's a few.
12 of them.
There's a few of
So sustainability, energy conservation, the parks plan, what's the active transportation plan, growth policy, Main Street. So yeah, there's several
Okay, so
that,
when they apply for a
Mhm.
project.
they'll have to go through
They
and
have to go
cite
through.
how those are, supported within those
Or
documents.
thank you.
Yep. I mean, that's really what we should be looking at more than anything at this point, are those items, for making any sort of approvals moving forward, so. But yeah, we'll make them do the work instead. Yes. Yeah,
All right. Anybody?
anybody,
Yeah,
yep,
fine.
okay.
So, just back to your change of use thing that you were doing there.
Mhm.
In no place did I hear anything about it actually going for, like, a community vote. I heard about community input,
Correct.
but, so I say blah, 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 she says blah, 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 she says blah, 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 and you guys, or whoever, not you guys personally, are like, oh, that's nice, we're gonna do this anyway. So, and I understand that you can't maybe have a vote for anything or everything, but if I donate land, like I'm just thinking about Milton Kathy's property, right?
Mhm.
And I don't know exactly how that came to be, I know there's some, details about that. But, okay, so now it gets to be a park, right? But Milton Kathy used to own that property, right?
Mhm.
And no, just because we name it after them, what keeps you, if you don't have, besides community input, what keeps you from determining that, oh, well, we're gonna put whatever there? I don't know. A bunch of picnic chairs or.
Yeah, floodplain, that's one.
Yeah, okay, fine.
But no,
You understand my point.
honestly, no, I hear what you're saying. So
Yeah.
I think a bit of it is by creating this type of paper trail, it does hold the folks that are doing this more accountable. If you literally have endless amounts of documents coming to the table saying that you should not do this for this XXX and you still vote no, that's a pretty big red flag to me. That being said, I would like to think that if there's somebody in office representing you, that they're actually gonna have some ethics, and I know that's contradictory with a lot of politics,
Yeah.
but,
Yeah, like, the
but
only thing that'll
realistically,
happen
it's
is you won't have
ethics.
a job.
Yeah.
Right? That's the
Yeah.
only thing that'll happen. They'll be like, oh, well, this person voted for that and that and that and that, well,
Yeah.
you're out. But we still have whatever it is that we don't want
Right.
there.
No,
right?
and that's it. You're
You know what I'm
100%
saying?
right in
No,
that.
I know I am,
Yeah.
I mean, I understand, not to be whatever, I'm just saying that, I also understand how things work, and just because, so right now, in the other town that I live in, there is a huge park right on the ocean that was donated, and it was supposed to be a park.
Mhm.
Well, they want to put a 30-story condo on it, and nobody wants that, we've got enough damn condos.
Right next
Yeah.
to 40 others.
Right,
Yeah.
thank you, right? And so it's like a battle, right?
Mhm.
And it shouldn't be a battle, because this person donated it to be a park,
Yep.
right? But these people over here are so in these other people's pockets.
So,
that
yeah.
it gets bypassed. And the only thing that's gonna happen is that you're not gonna have a job, because the people are gonna be like, look what they did.
Right.
So,
And-
and that's it.
Yeah.
That's it. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 comments, and I'm not gonna read them all because it's all the same thing,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
Yep.
From change.org petition that we did,
Mhm.
with 225 signatures, which is about 10% of the town right at the moment, right? That say absolutely not, right? So that's one thing. And then I want to go finally and just talk about why people feel, I'm going to use disappointed, for lack of a stronger word, which I can use, but I'm not.
You get one a meeting. Sorry.
You get one a meeting. About how this whole thing evolved, right?
Yeah.
And I've got people over here saying, well, it's not ours, it's the community foundation. And I get that. They're the ones that spearhead this whole thing and has zero to do with you, but not really, right? Dave's on the steering committee, right? Last March, or, this past March, you guys had a meeting, and people are like, well, we have meetings, but nobody comes. Okay, well, you have meetings and nobody comes, and you know that, right? You know that you have these meetings and nobody comes to them, right? But you still have a responsibility, in my humble opinion, to say when something this, I'll say dramatic, drastic, is going to happen to A, historic park, and B, a historic community, right? Mm-hmm. That you have a responsibility to not say, oh, we had a meeting about it. We have had meetings about it, and you didn't just find out about it. You've been talking about it. Somewhere along this conversation, I heard 2 years, right? And I know that you talked about it in March, right, of 2025. So somewhere along the way, it seems to me, as you people are representatives of people in this town that voted for you to come and say, listen, this is something that's coming down the pipe. You guys haven't been coming to the meeting. You need to know this, and you need to know it ahead of time instead of coming to the Roosevelt, which was an absolute sham in my opinion, right? And you didn't use that word, but you got up and said, listen, right? Mm-hmm. And, I'm like, wow, people do feel blindsided by that. And yes, you have meetings, but rightly so. Why didn't that come out and say, listen, put it in the newspaper? There's a whole big old thing in the newspaper right now, 2 weeks in a row. But was it ever in the newspaper before? If it was, I don't know. I don't get the newspaper.
I don't either. And that's part of the problem.
So
I hope.
And that's, Chelsea, why people feel like,
Yeah. And
I think it's fair.
And I get that concern, and this is one thing that I go back and forth in my mind, and again, I shouldn't go too deep into this just for sake of time, but realistically, yes, it is an issue, and it's not a matter of trying to hide it, it's a matter of whose responsibility, how is the best form of communication, and when is that time to, when is that trigger for actually doing it? It's one thing that for me, I personally as a citizen before I was on city council would receive the agendas into my inbox. I would read through them. I didn't read the packet every week. I didn't come to every meeting by any means, but I would read the agenda at the very least to see if there was anything of interest. Us as a council, where we're trying to get better about labeling things within our agenda to be a little bit more specific and less vague. And again, we can't always be perfect at that because we are kind of in our own heads as well, the same as any other humans. So we truly do understand that there is a concern of the fact that there is a lack of communication. We think that, again, a town of 2,500 people, you think it'd be easier, but from someone who has literally done marketing for a living and tried to get people to come to meetings, that was my job, and not seeing people come through without, I've mentioned this before, I don't have time to knock on every person's door. I've had people, the members of the community, be willing to offer that. And so there's opportunity for improving that process. But
I just think you dropped the ball.
And again, I think you're right. And I think
not from the community foundation.
Right.
Because they have an agenda, clearly, right? We get that. We're not stupid people. But as people that are elected, and you knew this was going on, and and it didn't come out except in meetings and stuff. And
I don't know where else you'd have it come out. So again,
I don't know, but
I'm going to say you can say I dropped the ball. I'm going to look at this as an opportunity to improve.
I don't think she means you personally. I just think she means everybody on the council.
No, agreed. But what I'm going to end it with that. And again, I can't control them, but what I can say is we have opportunities to improve, and that has been heard, and it's something that is being considered of how we can improve that. So, but yes, I want to just be clear on that. So I will go to the next public comment.
Sorry, these are the supporting documents
I'm aware.
and the comments from.
I'm aware that we're 15. Do you guys have anywhere to be? Are you guys hungry?
No.
Cynthia? Do you have a kid getting out of school here soon?
Well, I have a kid who's in that. She's fine. She doesn't need to eat.
I just need to ask a simple question.
Yeah.
Everything aside, the grant money, all that, is the park broken?
No.
It's not broken. I've enjoyed it for 20-some odd years. I know there's special interest involved, but it's not broken. And I just want to say that out loud. It's not broken.
Yeah.
Can I answer that?
Sure. I like having open conversations, so as
It
much
is
as I,
broken. It's not being used right now.
that's a
It's
good,
not being
that's a
used
good
right
call.
That's a good point.
Yep,
It's sitting in.
Could it be used right now? Yeah.
yeah.
It used to be used this time of year, and I'm sorry it's not. I'm sorry that it does have to take something else for it to be used. Back in the day, it didn't. Historically, our weather was different. There was lots of things that were different historically. I tried to find pictures of the park historically. You can't find them. You can't find them since the train coming down the track. It stopped coming down the track in 1930s.
Yeah.
There's nothing about that park. I can just tell you what it was in the 1970s. It was a broken down shack with a kind of flooded ice rink, and in the summertime, a rusted out swing set. So, if we want to talk about historical buildings, that's what was there.
Yeah.
Okay? Now, do I wish we could come up with something different? I would love it.
Yeah.
Do I wish it could be moved? I stayed on and I watched the rest of the meeting about the ice rink. The man, and you're gonna have to help me here, Dave, the guy who's in charge of the streets and everything.
Mike?
Works?
Yeah.
Mike Maples?
Mike Maples said it cannot work up at coal miners. That was one suggestion. He said it can't work up there, and it shouldn't, because that's really bad for the animals too, I think, and for all the people. But historically now, this is what it is now. This is our climate now. This is what our kids are missing out on now. This is what our tourists are missing out on now. It's a tourist grant. It used to not be a tourist town.
Yeah.
It used to be a mining town. It used to be a farmer and ranching town. All my friends were farmers and ranchers.
Yeah.
My friend, he had to sell his land. I know he did not want to, and it's turning into a subdivision. And I heard it, and I went, oh my God, he had no choice. So we got to give up the historical thing and go, okay, what can we do to still keep our community here and keep it going? Yeah, we do.
Okay. Thank you very much. That's I think that's okay, we're not gonna get into a back and forth.
I have nothing to say.
Okay?
We have suggested to put a portable refrigerated ice rink there.
Yep.
That would solve the issue of the concern of adding non-historical structures to the park.
Yep.
And that is something that we have done research. I personally did research on. The packet was handed to Tom when he was standing there the other day.
Yep.
And I think that if you had taken a vote of these people here that are obviously against it and live in the community, that would be a solution for them.
Yeah.
And it's not being addressed.
One thing I'm gonna just kind of go back on that, I don't think it's a matter of it being addressed. I think it's just a lot of information is coming in and there's a lot of community input
But I
happening.
would say that we are trying to present alternatives in the interest of good faith.
Perfect.
And this is a historical town, and this is a tourist town, and it's been a tourist town since the 1930s when that road opened up.
Okay, well, I appreciate
agree
that.
with you, and I think that you're.
I'm gonna, wait,
hold on.
real quickly, I'm not gonna let,
I agree. I'm
Yep.
just saying I agree.
I just want to be sure that we don't get too much in.
Yeah, no,
I like
I
having
agree.
conversations, but I also don't want to get too in the weeds.
I agree.
But no, I think that's really helpful. I think that it is historic, and I don't want you to feel discouraged on the fact that, because I've heard that suggestion, I've heard some of the research that's happening. I don't think that's necessarily off the table at this point.
I think that would be such a good solution, and
Yep.
if we just pull back from the concept of having permanent concrete in the park, people would chill out really quick. No pun intended.
I was gonna say puns.
Yeah. You know?
Yep.
I think
Okay.
and I think if we were able to have Red Lodge Ice come to the table and say, this is a suggestion of what we can do to appease all parties and meet in the middle, I think that would be great.
Yeah.
The company I found is out of Florida, ironically, and if it can work there, it could probably work here.
Yep. And again, I think that has been something that's heard, and I think that it's definitely something that, hopefully in that public information meeting, because I would love to see more collaborative efforts, because again, from the sounds of it, it's not a matter of ice skating, it's a matter of concrete.
Yeah,
And
100%.
And so I think that, again, there is lots of room for collaboration and maybe re-sculpting the plan, and I think both the steering committee feels that way. I'm hoping that the public can feel that way too, but I think that really the focus is just getting as much facts out as possible.
Yeah.
And again, hoping that folks can understand that it's in process, but it doesn't mean it's in process,
Yeah.
right?
And please don't ask for me to put aside the historical aspect of this town when it's literally my job to do so.
Yep, no, that's not gonna be a conversation. So, next, public comment, if anyone in the room? No? Okay. And, online?
All right, anyone online? You've got it on
There's two.
Does anyone else have comments online? Going once? Going twice? 3 times is dinner time. I really do appreciate everybody coming out and the difference. I like hearing all the input. We really do. That's what we are here for. And one thing I do want to open it up to folks is if there's suggestions, if there's comments, if there's questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. And I'm more than happy to, email's great. I'm more than happy to have a phone call, but preferably scheduled. I do have businesses, so as much as I'd like to say this is my job, it is one of the 30 of them. So I would love to actually coordinate time to where I can actually dedicate time to the conversation. So, anyway, thank you very much.
Thank you.
We'll keep working on this, so appreciate it.
Grab a card out on the
Thanks,
table.
Ron.
Yep.
Thanks for showing up. And input.